Well, Trent, I guess it appears David Fafita has agreed to join the club. We know his talent on the field. What makes you think he'll fit in off it and as part of this club?
Yeah, I think he's shown his quality over a number of seasons since he was a kid. He obviously has an effect on an opposition there in the way that he runs and carries the ball and affects opposition defences, and his ability to score a try on his own and also in that system. So yeah, that's the qualities that we saw.
He's still only young. Do you think his best footy is still ahead of him?
Yeah, 24. You know, he's 24. The best footy's definitely ahead of him. So hence the length and of the agreement there. So yeah, that's the plan. Obviously between 25 and 28, 29. You know, there's some really good years there for an NRL player.
Can you tell us about the pitch for him? Like, obviously he's a guy that's in demand. Can you tell us about sort of some of your conversations and
no, not really, to be honest. That stuff, it's a really interesting one, right? So, me personally, I feel like that stuff's really private, you know, in the way that you go about it. I feel like the result is obviously comes out and it's signed, but the way the conversations I have with somebody and that when it comes to recruitment, I don't feel like that's something that I do feel like it's private. Yeah. You know, the conversations that you have with players in those rooms, I feel like they're private. I feel like the result of that, either signing or playing a game or all of that, that's for everyone to see. But those personal conversations, they should stay that way, I think.
Can I ask, like, obviously, in terms of his motivation, clearly he wants to go to a club that he feels that he can win at, and there were two great options for him, and obviously that's a huge vote of confidence for the Roosters in that he thought that he could achieve those things with his club. Yeah,
I imagine it was a really tough decision, you know, Ivan and, you know, the chance to play with Nathan as well, that's, you know, it's a pretty good option as well. And so, yeah, I feel like our future, you know, whether it's David or someone else, I feel like, yeah, we're quite clear on what our future looks like and the development of some of the players that we've been developing through. You know, we're going to have young halves there, but the upside is high, so we're looking forward to that.
Robbo, you just mentioned the opportunity to play with Nathan, but it says a lot for Sam Walker.
Yeah.
That Dave Fafita has made this decision, looks at the Roosters roster going forward and sees a young fella in Sam Walker that he wants to play with.
Yeah, I think, I mean, Sam's a bit like some of those halves he's been developing. I think he debuted, oh, you're pushing me now, I think it was 2021 was his first year, so he's in his fourth NRL season. He's coming into his own, he's still only 21. Sandon Smith will come through, post Keary into that role. They know each other, we're really clear on our style of play, so wanting to continue with those guys and develop into that next generation of a team that we want to become. So that was probably the other thing that I really wanted to say today. It's a really funny one because I knew I was going to get asked a fair bit about the recruitment today, and that's really key. But then there's also there's the other part of you don't care what happens next year. Like there's that other part where it's, you know, purely focused on tomorrow, purely focused on what this year looks like. We've got so many guys that are finishing up. And so just a bit of insight into how coaches, you go and do your recruitment piece, but that's not the majority of the week. That doesn't consume you every minute of the day. You go and get the players that you want for the future, but you stay purely focused on what that team looks like for tomorrow, what this year looks like. You know, that's all that matters to me and to this club. And whilst you're doing that, you want to recruit really good players, get a squad together, but the pure focus is right now.
In relation to that, like, has this got a bit of last dance about it? Because there are so many players leaving and your focus is this season, and this is a chance to achieve something special with the core group that's here before quite a few guys depart.
I think there's two things there, Adrian. I think I'd like to feel like it's never the last dance at the Roosters. I feel like we try and future-proof by development. You know, we've got a really good group of recruiters there that bring kids through and then go and get really high quality players. So I never want to feel that way, but there's a real clear finishing line for some players that we really care about and love, that all that matters. You know, Jared's playing 300 tomorrow. 300 games for the Roosters is a really big thing for us. And he's finishing at the end of the year. I've spent 13 years of my coaching career with him. Kez is finishing. Joey Manu's leaving and we don't know if he's coming back. There's some endpoints there where, why would you look past this year? We want to try and play the best footy we've played in years. And so that focus is really clear.
On that sort of, some people you mentioned leaving, Angus Crichton with David coming, are you still hopeful of keeping Angus?
Yeah, that's not a final there with Angus. There's still some water to pass under the bridge there with Angus as well. He's in the best form he's been in years and years. He's an Australian player. He's fighting for a back row spot in Origin, and he's in good form. So, that's not the end of the road yet. Obviously, there hasn't been any negotiations there or anything, but some discussions there.
Robbo, just the way you're talking about future-proofing Sand and
Yep.
Sam. Sam's a November 1 contracted player. Therefore, you've got 6 months to get going. Are you confident the way it's progressing? And clearly, the way you're talking, you're confident he's going to stay.
Yeah, I think there's been a little bit of discussion there around, but Sam's. We've been on a path for quite a long time with Sam. Our focus is really simple in that direction. Our focus is really clear. With him, he's voiced his view on wanting to be here. And so for us, it's simple. All it is about negotiating length and dollars. And that will happen before then. And then, but from a coaching point of view, that's out of my hands. But it's pretty simple that we've invested in Sam as our long-term halfback. So let's try and get that done as soon as possible.
Would you be taking Angus or Luke if you're picking the team?
I would, yeah. Yeah, I think back row's been a really interesting... there's been some guys that have been really putting their hand up, but none more so than Angus. I feel like, obviously didn't get picked round 1 off the bench, but then just said, no, I'm owning this position, and I feel like he's been one of the form back rowers in the competition. I'm not completely sure about the other New South Wales back rowers. I haven't got a sort of clear picture on who that's there, who's in that frame there, but he's in some really good form.
Given some of the injuries, are there some other opportunities for Roosters, whether it be even a Connor Watson who's been playing outstandingly off the bench, or Lock, or very versatile, and even Luke Keary and some other people also? Yeah,
look, I think we have to keep playing well. I know if we keep playing well and we starting with tomorrow, then those players that are playing good minutes, that are dominating the game, are going to get asked. We're going to get asked questions around that team. It's I know in the back of the mind, I want players that are striving for higher, but that's only done through performing tomorrow. And so there are players like Connor, Sue, Kez, like all of those sort of players. They just keep pushing, and rewards will come.
You mentioned that it's still open with Angus. Do you think the signing of David makes it more difficult to retain Angus?
I think it does, yeah. Not naive to think that it doesn't. And that's the hard thing. It's really hard when you're in a club and you walk in every day, and it's the balance between, the players that you have, and then trying to get some guys that you think are going to change the shape of the way that you play. But the door's not closed there.
You narrowly missed out on Dane Gagai, Robert. Clearly you're looking for an experienced outside back to hold the fort and help bring the next generation through.
Yeah.
Is that the theory behind the attempt of getting Gags, and will you continue to look for that style of player?
Yeah, because, the outside backs, it's a funny thing, I've probably been asked a lot about the outside backs, but we've got some guys that we really believe in. There's sort of some young players, Billy Smith obviously, we feel like he's a long-termer. We've got some wingers sort of already signed there, but we've also got a young guy that hasn't played first grade that we believe in. And that's the same with guys like Sandon. We don't want to buy over the top of those guys. We understand that what next year's going to look like there with some young guys coming in, but they've also been in our squad for a period of time, and it's time for them to play. So we do want some experience, but also we don't want to block the path of these sort of 20 to 22-year-olds that are coming. You know, we see that as the next generation of team that we've got.
Spencer, then you coming back this week.
Yep.
How's he handled himself the last couple of months after a less than ideal start?
Yeah, he's obviously had to learn a lot. You know, he's gone through a lot of different, whether it's meetings or experiences there to get some learnings from that. And then, yeah, he's had to train a lot. He's had to do a pre-season again. So with everything that's happened, you know, I feel like, yeah, he's done his work on himself and back on his game, and now it's time to get back out there and play.
Do you think like he feels like he owes his teammates after missing so much?
He doesn't owe us anything. It's just time for him to get back out there and be himself and play the footy that he loves.
Where's Jared going to rank when it's all said and done as far as Roosters forward and players go?
Yeah, it was an interesting one. Just on, you know, there's some legend front rowers that have played 300 games. I saw Petro there, you know, has played 300 games, and you know, Jared playing 300 games for the Roosters. That's a really special one for us. Yeah, and we talked about it yesterday, and this morning we'll talk about it, just how he's done it in his style, and to do it with that physicality, you know, it has to rank him as one of the greatest front rowers that have played the game, because he's lived a few different lives throughout that career, but all through, I think I've said it before, but through the mana that he lives with. So yeah, it's been. If you're going to play 300 in the front row, and there's a few different iterations of Jared, but we've loved them all, and you know, the last year to celebrate that.
Trent, have you got a theory on, there's a lot of high-profile injuries at the moment, and I'm sure Michael Maguire's struggling to put together a New South Wales team. Is that speed of the game, or is there anything that you, or the way players train, or the intensity of the game, anything that you put that down to?
Yeah, it's been, I mean, the game, the rule changes again, like that, which has been great, because what we've done is we've sped up the outside backs, the room that outside backs have had, purely just based on the downtown. There's allowed more high-speed meters in the game. So, you know, you have to manage that. If you don't manage the high-speed meters, you're going to end up with injuries, because it has spiked from last year. There has been more open play, and that's a good thing. But our game's physical. It's such a physical game, and it's we're going to continue to have injuries. We're not going to get rid of them, but us adapting to those changes year on year, we've had some to adapt to over the last period of time. It's made our game better, but just the reminder to everybody that we need time to train those guys through the pre-season to be able to cope with the demands of the season. So we can't speed up the game and then reduce the pre-season through lots and lots of games at the end of the year and longer time off. You end up with 5 weeks to train players to play 30 rounds of high-intensity footy. You need a base of training. So there has to be a balance for the two.
Robbo, have you seen any impact on going to Las Vegas?
From
your point
players?
Of view? Yeah.
Not from a negative point of view. I think it's been an amazing thing for the game. I feel like it was like the ultimate launch party. I think for the game, I think it created a lot of interest. I feel like the players and our high performance staff did a really good job. I feel like physically we've actually been in a good state for the first couple of months of the season.
Well, there's been a few overseas reports that Daniel Tupou has expressed some interest in the Super League. Be making it to try and keep him here?
Yeah, that's one of the ones that we were discussing there around Gags and not coming here is definitely Toops. Toops is, yeah, we've definitely had some discussions. He's one of ours, Toops, so making sure we guide him in the right way, whether it's here or overseas, is key. I think that'll get worked out in the next couple of weeks.
And Lachlan Lamb, bringing him back over, he's Roosters blood. Obviously, you guys are going to develop, or bringing back boys and developing them again. Any interest in being?
Lockie's a great player. No, there hasn't been a discussion around that. His management or nobody's that hasn't come up. with us. I think if Lockie comes back, he should come back as a starter. He's always welcome back here at the Roosters. He's a local kid, Chloe Croc's kid. But we're pretty clear on Sam and Sandon.